Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days for today's second video. It's taken to around the 11th of October, and actually we'll extend out beyond that with the GFS because that runs to 2 weeks. Now we've released the ECMWF 30-day ensemble forecast. That was released earlier on this afternoon. So that's covering the weather for the next month across most of October through the UK and much of Europe as well. And it does look like a rather changeable month, but overall starting pretty cold and then getting warmer from around week 2 onwards. So have a look at that, see what you think. If you're waiting for the October month-end forecast, that's been pushed back to tomorrow, but it will be the first video up tomorrow, as well as a 5-day forecast tomorrow and a look at weather next week 10 days again. So 3 videos will be with you tomorrow. We're going to start off with this video though by having a look at what's happening in the tropical Atlantic. So we've got 2 areas of interest. We've got this yellow X appearing down here in the southern part of the Caribbean near to Mexico. So let's see what the National Hurricane Center saying about that. So it's disturbance 1. At the moment it's got a 0% chance of a tropical cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. So they're saying a broad area of low pressure located over the southwestern Caribbean Sea is producing disorganised showers and thunderstorms. Some gradual development of this system is possible late this week and this weekend, while the low drifts generally northward during the next several days. So at the moment, 0% chance of becoming a tropical cyclone. In the next 5 days, though, does have a 20% chance, still low, of becoming a cyclone. So we're just going to keep an eye on that one. It's a very long way south, but it's going to be gradually moving northwards through the Caribbean Sea, and we'll wait and see how that one develops. And then, of course, we've got the old tropical storm Leslie. This has been meandering around, going nowhere fast over the past several days. So at one time it was downgraded to a post-tropical storm. Now it's back up to a tropical storm again. So this is tropical storm Leslie. It has maximum sustained winds of 65 miles an hour in the sort of central Atlantic Ocean. The track for this tropical storm, and it may well become a hurricane, actually, category 1 hurricane in the next few hours. That's its current position. So it's forecast to just keep meandering around, going nowhere fast. It's going to be in that sort of area by Wednesday, and then pivoting back to be doing something a bit like that by the time we get through to the weekend, by which time, again, it's gone from a hurricane back down to a tropical storm. So just going round in circles, not really going anywhere fast, not really impacting any land masses. Tropical storm, soon to be probably Hurricane Leslie. We'll keep an eye on all of the developments over the next few days, of course. Right, just bringing up data centering temperature. So we announced yesterday that we've got the CET in for September. It came out at 13.7, an anomaly of just 0.1 degree above average. So it's basically bang on average in terms of 61 to 1990, but compared to the more modern average, a warmer average of 81 to 2010, it's actually a little bit cooler than average. But again, only a slight deviation. Basically, if you're within half a degree, either way, you've had an average month. So I think we can say September 2018 came out about average. October's number is in provisional, just but the first, and stands at 9.8, an anomaly of 2.5 degrees below average. That's only for one day, and that's going to be lifting up quite a lot over the next few days. But the first day of October was pretty cold. We've also got the UK-wide data in now, so I'll just bring you up to date with that as well. Dealing with temperature anomalies, first of all, this is how the temperature anomaly for the UK looks for September 2018, set against 61 to 1990. You see, many parts of the country have had an average month, a little bit warmer than average over in the east. Again, not a big deviation, only around half a degree or so above average across some of those southern and eastern areas. Northern and western parts, again, very, very close to average. Northern Ireland, or some parts of Northern Ireland, actually coming out a little bit cooler than average, set against 61 to 1990. If we use a more modern average of 81 to 2010, You'll see again most parts of the country coming out with an average sort of temperature anomaly. Very little warmer than average though, set against 81 to 2010. And actually more of these western areas, more of Northern Ireland, some parts of western Scotland, some parts of North West England and West Wales end up with a cooler than average month if we set it against 81 to 2010. But it's not a big deviation, so we can say, but certainly those very high temperatures that we had back in the summer. If I go back to CT, you can see that those very high temperature anomalies we was getting back in the summer, really from April, we was running around 2 degrees above average, so that's April's CT, and then again May around 2 degrees above average, June again very close to 2 degrees above average, then the heat really peaking in July, which is about 3 degrees above average. But since then clearly we have fallen back much closer to average. The warmth has just kind of like drained away, and August was around a degree above average, but September has been more or less bang on sort of average. So where we go from there, it's going to be very interesting to see for the final quarter of the year. Will we revert back to warmer than average? Will we continue to be running close to average? Or could we actually cool things down further? Obviously, there is a cool down from July to August to September, quite a dramatic one. And again, August to September has shown a cool down as well in terms of the anomaly to average. So will that progress through the final quarter of the year? Will we actually have quite a cold end to 2018? It's all up for grabs at the moment in terms of the final quarter of 2018, October, November, December. What's going to happen? Will we stick around average? Will we revert back to warmer than average? Or could we actually go colder than average? It will be very interesting to see how that plays out. As far as precipitation is concerned, the dry spell goes on for the southeast. So again, much of the Midlands, southeast England, East Anglia coming out with a substantially drier than average precipitation anomaly. Most places just having like 75% of average. One or two places as low as around 33% of their average rainfall. It was wetter in the northwest, although rather hit and miss. So Northern Ireland, for example, comes out with a very dry month, but North West Scotland comes out with really quite a wet month. North West England down to parts of Wales again comes out with quite a wet month, but South West England comes out drier than average. So obviously a lot of regional variation going on there, but generally to the east, eastern Scotland, southeast England, those areas have come out with a drier than average September. The north and west, despite Northern Ireland being drier, the northwest generally looks a little bit wetter, but the prolonged dry spell, and this has been going on since May, has continued for eastern Scotland, parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and southeastern England. Now tomorrow, of course, we're going to release the GAS Weather's October month-end forecast, and we will review the September forecast with these anomaly maps from the UK Met. So we'll see how the September forecast fared tomorrow. Right, GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles are looking like this for the next 2 weeks. Looking at London today, the red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average for London. Going to be close to average now through the rest of the week. Over the weekend, we're going to get this drop in the temperature. It doesn't last all that long, though. It's associated with an area of low pressure. It might bring some wet weather, although there's a lot of uncertainty about that low pressure. Saturday could be a notably cold and wet day, but the models are really changing from run to run on that low pressure. And then beyond that, through the second week of October, it does look quite mild actually. Temperatures going rather above average. Rainfall wise, lots of dry weather through to the weekend. Over the weekend, we've got these precipitation spikes here, Friday to Saturday. As I say, there could be some notably wet weather Friday to Saturday, but there's quite a lot of uncertainty about that. Early next week going drier again, and then maybe later next week some more precipitation spikes start to appear. Again, though, generally, that is quite a dry ensemble for October. I mean, October is one of our wettest months of the year, typically. And there's no sign, certainly for the southeast, for London, there's no sign of any notably wet weather, or prolonged wet weather, I suppose I should say, coming up in the next 2 weeks. Lots of dry conditions continue. This is how the GFS is looking for Friday then. So on Friday we're bringing a weak weather front down and it's getting a little bit stuck across the centre of the country. Behind it the air is actually quite cool. Ahead of it the air is quite warm. That front is potentially going to develop an area of low pressure from Friday to Saturday. So this is 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, where it does look as though we've got this area of low pressure running in across the south and the southeast, could be bringing some quite heavy rain with it, and the cold air is moving down from the north as well. So some of the model output for Saturday is suggesting maximum temperatures in parts of the Midlands, Wales, those sort of areas, may not get much higher than around 7 or 8 degrees, which would be a very cold day indeed for the 6th of October. There may be outbreaks of rain as well, but I have to emphasise that low pressure could be further north, could be further south. It may not even develop in the end. We have been seeing this quite a bit in recent weeks and months with this dry spell, that the low pressure have generally not developed as much as the models have been wanting to develop them a few days before. So let's just wait and see how that plays out. It may not be as cold and wet on Saturday as some of the model output is indicating. By Sunday, we're under this ridge of high pressure, so that returns us to dry conditions, probably quite chilly. And then into next week, we've got low pressure in the north and west with these southwest winds, bring cloud and spells of rain. But the south and east under high pressure should have lots of dry weather. We're running up to day 10. And high pressure is taking over to our east. So this is Friday the 12th of October, for example. High pressure over Scandinavia, much of eastern Europe being dominated by that ridge as well. The low pressure's out in the Atlantic being held at bay by that high pressure. So fairly warm and pretty dry really as we're running up to the end of next week. In the more extended range, high pressure continues to be quite dominant, although eventually showing signs of breaking that ridge down just a little bit. I'm going to get the phone, so I'll be back in a second. Right, just check, make sure we're recording. Yes, we are. Sorry about that. Normally unplug the phone, but I've got a family member who's quite seriously ill at the moment, so I'm having to keep the phone plugged in to get updates. So, sorry about the phone interruptions in the videos just recently. Coming back to what we just talked about, the GFS. So, we finish up with the Atlantic trying to show signs of breaking through. But of course that's 384 hours away, so a really long way out, and to be honest, I think we suggest that the GFS certainly wants to keep high pressure dominant for at least into the middle part of October. Let's have a look at the ECM and see what that's doing. So on Friday, we've got this weather front again moving down from the northwest. It's in that sort of position. It gets a bit stuck though. Ahead of it, the air is quite warm. Behind it, the air is becoming quite cold. That's midnight on Friday. It's in midnight Saturday. Some sort of disturbance is developing along that front. The front is kind of in that position. We know you're going 24-hourly steps with the ECM, unfortunately, and that's how things are looking at midnight on Sunday. With the low pressure just to the south and the east of the country, we're pulling down these cold sort of northeasterly winds. So how much rain we get from that is uncertain. We would need really to see the midday run of the ECM, see how much it develops that area of low pressure during the course of Saturday. But obviously for the south and the east, it does look as though there could be some rain. And the main thing could be really quite cold temperatures. Beyond that, high pressure ridges in from off the Atlantic again, although we get these milder southwest winds returning to the northwest early next week. And then in the more extended range, this is how we're looking, gradually turning more unsettled. So that's the chart for day 10, which is Friday 12th of August. It looks like low pressure is taking over at that point. You'll remember yesterday's video, we saw the ECMWF and the GM more unsettled than the GFS. The GFS building up that ridge more compared to those other two models. It looks like that's continuing today as far as the ECMWF is concerned. By the way, that very, very deep area of low pressure that you see there, bottom left of the chart as you're looking at it, that one just there, is tropical storm or possibly hurricane Leslie. So that's still meandering around in the central Atlantic even in 10 days time. And then finally we've got the GEM. This is how things are looking with the Canadians. So we've got that weather front again through the central swathe of the country as we're going into Friday. And then on Saturday, there's a low pressure, midnight Saturday, the low pressure developing along that front, possibly pepping up the rain. We go through to Sunday, the low pressure just off the southeast part of the country, so not coming as further north, particularly as the GFS does with that low pressure. Probably quite heavy rain through parts of the sort of the Midlands, East Anglia, central southern England. With that on Saturday, there's a northeast wind as well that could be quite cold. So again, quite a cold, wet day possible some parts of England and Wales on Saturday. But do bear in mind, there's a lot of uncertainty about this low pressure. It may not even develop anywhere near as much as this is showing in the end. Beyond that, going into the early part of next week, again, more unsettled compared to the other two models. So we're running through next week, and this high pressure, the ridge, is a lot further back. It's backing towards the west of Russia compared to the GFS, which has it centred over Scandinavia. And that means it's the low pressure in the Atlantic that's the dominating factor for us. And turning increasingly wet and potentially increasingly windy through the course of next week. That's a proper sort of autumnal gale that we've got there at day 10. Off the east coast of Scotland on Friday the 12th of October. So proper wet and windy run for next week with the GM. Still questions to answer, therefore, as far as next week's weather is concerned. Will the high pressure to the east be the dominating factor, as the GFS is showing? If it is, then we'll have a largely dry, away from the far northwest, we'll have a largely dry and pretty mild week. Or will it actually be the Atlantic and those areas of low pressure that's dominating? And if they are dominating, then we will have, yes, we will have probably quite a mild week because wind will be from the southwest. But the main thing is that it'll be a good deal more wet and windy. Or will we do something like the ECM is shown? I would probably think that's the most likely outcome, actually. The ECM starts us off with a fairly strong influence from the ridge, but gradually turns things more unsettled. So by day 10, the ECM is also getting itself into a much more unsettled scenario by the end of next week. All will be revealed in the days ahead. Finally, if you've been enjoying the updates over the past few days, weeks, months, then please can you consider giving us a donation. There's two ways that you can donate to Gazovich. You can become a patron for Gazovich. This is Gazovich's Patreon page, so you can just come to his page, sign up for a Patreon account, and then you can give a one-off, a monthly donation, I should say, to Gazovich. And by doing that, you'll be helping us to fund our website. You'll become a patron for Gazovich. You'll get a shout-out in the videos. You'll get a mention to say a big thank you for becoming Gazovich's patron. The other way of doing it, if you'd rather just give a one-off donation, is through PayPal. So this is Gazovich's paypal.me page. You can just come to this page, got a PayPal account, very simply sign into that, and then you can pledge a one-off monthly donation to Gazovich. And again, you'll get a mention in the videos. We'll say thanks very much for giving us this donation, and we'll give you a shout out as long as you want. Well, some people would rather remain anonymous. We're aware of that, so if you would rather remain anonymous, then just leave a little note with your donation to tell us so, and we'll just thank this anonymous donor or something like that. If you'd rather not have a mention for yourself, but you might want to mention for your website or for your business, then we're happy to do that as well. Again, all you have to do is just leave a little note with your donation, and we're happy to do whatever you want in terms of the mention in the videos. So a big thank you to all of the patrons, and a big thank you to all of the donors for Gazovich. It's helping us to pay for our content. It's helping us to keep the website completely free of charge. We are primarily ads funded and will be remaining so. We're not going to be going behind paywalls or anything like that, so you don't need to worry about having to pay to view. We just find that ads are gradually declining revenue that you get from ads these days because of things like ad blockers, and GDPR also has been an added complication. And so ad revenues have gradually been declining away, actually for a year or two now. So it's just an added revenue stream to help us pay for our website, to help us to keep all of the content totally free of charge. And again, a big thank you to all of the donors and all of the patrons for Gazovich. Right, don't forget to check out the ECMWF 30-day ensemble forecast if you'd like to do that. Tomorrow we will have the October month-end forecast for you. It'll be the first video up. We'll also have the 5-day forecast, and we'll look at the weather for the next week to 10 days as well. So come back for all of the updates tomorrow. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.